We have some breaking news we're going to take you to right now. Chief Rochelle Brackney is doing a press conference at JPD headquarters. Let's listen in.
Refused to stop. Officers were ultimately able to safely surround the vehicle and take two suspects into custody without further incident. Currently, as a result, Cornelius Carter, C-A-R-T-E-R, 28 years old, has been charged with capital murder and a convicted felon not to be in possession of a firearm. Jordan Carter, 28, no relation, has been charged with capital murder in this case as well. This has been an extensive investigation involving countless hours of work by the Jackson Police Department, their detectives, patrol, crime scene personnel, and our law enforcement partners. Investigators worked diligently to collect physical evidence, conduct numerous interviews, and analyze digital and forensic evidence as a result to develop the probable cause that led to today's arrest. This investigation is ongoing and remains active. The Jackson Police Department extends its deepest condolences to the family and the loved ones of the victims. We remain committed to seeking justice for the victims and appreciate the cooperation and support provided by the community throughout this investigation. The mayor and I would also like to thank our law enforcement partners, including the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the Mississippi Bureau of Narcotics, the U.S. Marshal's Office, and all of the other agencies and personnel who assisted throughout this investigation. I also want to recognize the outstanding work of our Detective Bureau, led by Detective Jackson in this case, Deputy Chief Banks, Captain Wells, and TFO Blanford, and our intelligence team and the intelligence unit and their team. They did work throughout the weekend, countless hours to follow up these leads. But we are also saying that in spite of this, our commitment is we are still determined to continue to work on bringing everyone to justice who is involved in this heinous crime. So we are asking anyone with additional information related to this case, you're encouraged as always to contact the Jackson Police Department at 601-960-1800 or our Crime Stoppers. Although arrests have been made, investigations must continue, and we will follow up on any additional leads in this case. At this point in time, we will take your questions that will be answered either by anyone on our team or by the lead detective here in this case.
Second question, do we know what caused these guys to make this senseless act?
So as we know, it's an ongoing investigation, but this was an intentional targeted act to include the killing of the child, and so which is why the capital murder charge does exist. We also would not want to speculate on any motives to jeopardize this case.
And also, do we know if, you said it was targeted, but if they were related, if they just knew them, by the way, we know they were targeted, you know why they were targeted, if they knew them, basically.
This is, like I said, it's still an ongoing investigation right now, and to jeopardize the case, we need information outside of that.
Chief Brackney, are there other suspects involved besides the two you mentioned?
JPD Chief Rochelle Brackney with a late evening press conference who announced the arrest of two individuals in the shooting death of two sisters and a 2-year-old toddler. They are Cornelius Carter and Jordan Carter. FBI among the law enforcement partners assisting JPD at this press conference. And of course, we'll have much more on this. Stay with us.